All right. I am now joined by Mike Recine, and I feel like I've done a lot of anti-Italian racism to Mike Recine in past episodes. So, so really, we should compensate by saying something horribly offensive about Spaniards while introducing our good friend and comrade Nando Vila.
Do you want me to do that, or do you want?
Oh yeah, please.
Or maybe on the count of three.
Sure.
I don't know.
I already had to deal with Jungle Cruise. Now you guys, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Fair enough. No, I know that Spanish Americans like Nando Vila and Hillary Baldwin have to deal with a lot of prejudice. So I don't
Enrique
want
Iglesias. We are. There's dozens of us.
Yeah, fair enough. Normally, we would also be joined by.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear that in the background? Do you hear a baby?
But it's cute.
You can't hear it.
We can. It's fine, but we can't.
All right. Hey, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Sorry, guys. Sorry about him.
No, that's good. Well,
I just love the idea of the Ben Burgis give them an argument archives 20 years from now, showing your kid, when he's like a sentient adult being like, this is how I fathered you, I just we're doing
he's getting interviewed by Gayle King or something, and he's crying.
Yeah. It's like he put me on the Ben Burgis live stream while I was just a baby.
Yeah, my dad told me to shut the fuck up while he was doing his podcast.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Normally, we would also be joined by Burgess family associate Wosney, Big Woz Lambre, who seems to have been assassinated, possibly as a result of power struggle. But either that or he's just not available tonight, and he'll be back next month.
Yeah. I heard he was off by the same people who killed the Haitian president. So the DEA essentially just killed Woz. We can't have him.
They made a deal. They were like, "We'll kill the Haitian president and another Haitian of your choice." And some guy got in a Twitter argument with Woz. They're like, "Yeah, take him out."
Fair enough.
They didn't like his Russell Westbrook takes on The Ringer. They offed him.
I like it. So this month, I should say, we do not normally do these live. Usually they're patron exclusive for a while, and then they're unlocked. But since I'm going to be traveling and we're going to have to miss some of the usual live streams this week, we are doing this one live. Cue the Bill O'Reilly, fuck it, we'll do it live. The episode that we are up to this month is season 1, episode 8, The Legend of Tennessee Moltisanti. So I think this is the first episode that mostly focuses on Christopher.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I gotta say, this is a great episode. I mean, I feel like I say that every week, but this one is really, really, really good. I mean, it's really funny, and Chris is just such a funny character. I mean, he's just because he's kind of would he be like an elder millennial, or would he be a Gen Xer? Because he's I guess he's like a tail end Gen Xer.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, but he's got that kind of millennial. But what about what does it all mean for me? And Paulie's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. This is the episode where the meme comes from. Do you ever think that nothing ever good has ever happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing ever did. So what?
No. Yeah. He's right.
Yeah, which there are some great, anybody who follows the Socialist Sopranos memes account, there's some great ones where it's like a picture of Bernie Sanders, of AOC, and, and it has Christopher's line, and a picture of Bernie Sanders looking cranky, and it has Paulie's line. But yeah, I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. So how old do you think Christopher's supposed to be this season?
20?
Yeah, I thought he was like late 20s, like 26. I thought they mentioned that he's 26 at some point in the pilot.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so I think
he was born in like the mid 70s. Yeah, he's a Gen Xer.
Yeah. Fair enough. But at the beginning of the episode, Christopher is having a sort of surreal nightmare where the Czechoslovakian Polak who he whacked earlier is haunting him, and he's he's ordering meat, like Christopher's manning the meat counter at Satrioli's and making him a sub while this guy tells him that they screwed up when they buried the body.
Yeah, and he just keeps on repeating that they have Polish, like that they have these sausages in Czechoslovakia or whatever, and he's gonna have to eat them one day. It's just like an image of Adriana just like bending down and just eating one of the sausages, like is haunting Chris's nightmares. The funniest.
Yeah, well, and then turns into Carmela.
Yeah, right. Yeah, which is all. Yeah, that what's going on there?
He just in his nightmare he has to eat Chef Boyardee.
Yeah.
Or ragu.
Is ragu like offensive to Italians, or like is prego acceptable or rouse? Is
not
rouse
really. They're. I have a jar of Rayos in my pantry right now.
You call it Rayos?
It's Rayos, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's okay. It looks like rouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, they make a really good. I don't know. Their jarred sauce is really good, and they make one with bell peppers and mushrooms, and it's got big chunks of bell peppers and mushrooms, and I like to eat that a lot. I think that's the only jarred sauce that I will eat.
Right. Yeah. It's good to know these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was that. By the way, was not just me being randomly bigoted about people from the Czech Republic. That was a joke in the episode where he whacks him. It says Czechoslovakia. That's some kind of Polak, right? But
yeah, the Polish jokes in Sopranos are always great. Like the hierarchy, because like they're Italian Americans and they're like the top of like the non. It's like maybe like WASPs, Jews, then probably Italian Americans, then Irish. Like, is that, or is Irish on top? It's unclear. But what's clear is that like Polacks are way below, and like the Albanians are like, that's just like disgusting. Like they're even way lower on the totem pole.
That's probably how they see it, but I think there's like an insecurity that you're at the bottom when you're Italian. There's an insecurity that you're at the bottom and that like you're not respected. And I think that's why they always try to distance themselves. They try so hard to distance themselves from other minorities because they're like, we're not,
Like Dr. Melfi later in the episode tells her ex-husband, like, you always had a thing for those Irish girls and their freckles. I knew you always had a thing for those Irish girls and their freckles.
Yeah, his colleagues.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's something that they play with a lot over the course of the show. In a later season, Meadow is dating a very light-skinned black guy, and Tony, of course, is incredibly racist about it. But like, I always thought it was funny. Like, there's literally a scene where they're lying in bed together. It's like, not that much of a difference in the skin tone there, right? I mean, looks pretty similar.
My sister thought that my dad was black for the first like 8 years of her life, because he's like a darker skinned guy and he's got like jet black hair, and my mom thought he was Puerto Rican when she met him. So I think there is like that insecurity where it's like when you're Italian, you're like, no, but I'm like you, right, Mr. Smith? We're like the same. Me and and you try really hard to get you want to be accepted really badly.
Yeah.
Fair
For
enough.
Spanish Americans, it's just like we're not. It's like we're European.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get lumped in with the Italian Americans. Just do not lump us in with the Mexicans or the
right. Yeah, because you're Spanish. Yeah, because you're from Spain, right? Spain Spanish.
Spain Spanish, baby. Yeah. European, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't.
Not just
we don't
like the sort of like racist old woman thing about like calling everybody from a Spanish speaking country Spanish.
Right. Yeah. No. Not that. I mean, which is probably, by the way, that term, like I'm Spanish, is probably more used than Latinx as a self-identifier for people
Right.
from Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic or whatever. You know,
Is that actually the correct pronunciation, Latinx?
No, it's definitely not. But
because I was like 99% sure you were fucking with me when you said that like on a previous thing, but then it did. Like,
no, I am fucking with you. I refuse to say Latinx. It's just such an offensive. It's just such an offensive term. You know, like it's just such an assault on every. I'm like I could produce like a whole documentary about Latinx and just like how it's such a symptom of a much deeper malaise in our culture, and how it's just kind of a you know, a bourgeois assault on working class people. Like just so much fucking, there's like so much fucking to it. So I refuse to say Latinx. It's Latinx in my mind every time I see it, because if they're gonna insist on using it, I'm gonna butcher it back.
Yeah, my cousin married a Guatemalan guy, and he's like, so they've been together for a long time, and he's like the nicest guy in the world. And I think one night at dinner, my grandmother was like, well, I always considered him white. She like convinced herself that he's from Spain. She's like, his father's from Spain. That's how she's like made it okay.
Awesome. So this is what's going on at the beginning of the episode. Christopher is being haunted by the Czech guy who he killed, I don't know, a few episodes ago. And he's also spends a lot of the episode worrying about his writing. He's working on what looks like the shittiest gangster movie script ever written.
Yeah. It's so good. I just love the dialogue. Like the dialogue that he's writing is the best, like dumb guy dialogue. Like it's like one of the lines is like he's like I must remain loyal to my capo. Like it's something that he would never say. Like. Yeah. And then like immediately Tony calls him and he's like, "Hey, give me the spaghetti and the two cannolis, and you come down to Centralize right now." You know, like, his capo like calls him, "I must remain loyal to my capo." Like he would never say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, everybody's at a wedding. Actually, I've kind of lost track. So it's the daughter of some gangster, but
Larry Boy.
Larry Boy.
Oh, yeah. Larry Boy Barisi, right? That's the guy. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's the line of, you know, people giving the bride gifts and all this stuff. There's a great interaction where Tony, Carmela, and Livia come up to Larry Boy, and Livia, you know, is asks Larry Boy whether he's still cheating on his wife.
Larry Boy's like nothing but a gentleman to her. He's like, "Oh, Olivia, my darling, so great to see you." He's like, "Look at this guy with my darling. Get the fuck out of here. You're still cheating. You're still fucking that side piece."
And she says it about Tony later in the episode. It's like, yeah, Olivia, they're all cheating on their wives. Every single one of them, except Johnny Sack.
Right. Yeah. No, and I also love I love it in Sopranos when they do like the jokes for themselves, not for the audience. You know what I mean? Like there's certain jokes that are for us that they don't get, you know, they go over their head, but there's certain jokes that they do. And like Larry Boy's like, "Carmela, you look beautiful. Like, you know, like, are you here with a date or what? Like I'm gonna, you know, basically like implying like, oh, you're so beautiful." And Tony's like, "Who's a date?" And he like puts up his fist like he's gonna punch him, you know, like, and they're like, "Oh," like the, you know, like I love like that kind of joke, that genre of joke in Sopranos, like when they're busting each other's balls. Like that was such a good one. It's like, oh yeah, great, you know, this is sweet. They're joking with each other.
So at the big thing at the wedding though is that Larry Boy warns all of the gangsters that, I don't know, his like cousin or something has a guma who works at the FBI, and he's word is coming down the grapevine that indictments are coming. So there's a little scene with where all of the capos are standing around and doing a bad job of remembering to pretend that Junior is in charge. And then, and he's supposed to be able to make a final ruling about what they do, and but Junior says they shouldn't go on the land, then they because then the Albanians will be living in their houses. Yeah, a lot of random stuff about different Eastern European ethnicities in this episode.
Yeah, they don't like them. Italians don't like Albanians a lot. Like in Italy, like they really that's the lowest of the low for them. I think the Albanians, they really don't like them.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, I wonder why that is.
It's because they're right there. They're like right there. It's like you always
they remind us of ourselves.
Yeah. They just steal slightly cheaper stereos.
Yeah.
It's like was it the yeah, I mean, I guess not just that though, right? I remember there's some movie, I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was like this comedy from the 80s with a radio host who, like, the shtick was that, like, he would constantly say racist things about Albanians. And even like Christopher Hitchens, right? I mean, he had the thing about Mother Teresa, the lion thieving Albanian dwarf.
Yeah. Well, then there was the whole little genocide in Kosovo. They don't like the Albanians in that part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
there's a guy that worked for John Gotti named John Alite, and I think he's Albanian, and I think he testified against the Gotti family. So John Gotti Jr. doesn't like him. But he's in all of the like mob documentaries and stuff, and he's in almost every single. He did my friend's podcast.
We'll get him on this show. We'll get him on this show. Yeah. Sopranos episode.
I'm sure he'd probably do it. I mean, because I guess he can talk about all this stuff now. Like he can just go on podcasts and talk about people that he killed, which is kind of pretty funny because I guess whatever his plea deal or something. Yeah.
We should absolutely have him on, but
But these guys love attention.
Yeah. I wonder too. It's like I remember, I'm part of my family is Croatian, and the sort of like way that people pass down while sort of disowning it. It's like, oh yeah, this is what my parents thought or whatever, without like sort of owning the stereotypes, that, the sort of thing that was passed down about like other Yugoslav ethnicities is like, okay, the Serbs are like fucking evil, but, the Bosnians, they just kind of smell bad, like it's a different flavor of, bigotry. And I wonder if there's some, commonality with the anti-Albanian stuff, but
I went to Croatia like maybe 4 years ago, and I got kind of into the history, and I started watching some YouTube videos about the war and stuff like that. And I would read the comments because the comments were really funny. It was people fighting about a bunch of different stuff, and I remember one comment that was like, "Serbs are the trash of Europe." They don't seem to like Serbs.
Well, Serbs are the aggressors,
but they all kind of
Yeah, they were pretty clearly the aggressors in that whole thing. The other reason Italians hate Albanians is because there's a lot of Albanians show up in Italy. In Italy and Switzerland are like the two countries where like a lot of Albanians show up, both refugees, but also just, because Albania is right there, so they come on boats and shit, and they just don't like them. Mm-hmm. Don't like them.
Yeah,
America's pretty racist, but sometimes it feels like Europe is more racist and more openly racist. Yeah,
well, I actually think that's 100% true. Like,
totally. Europe, Europe is far more kind of like, you can say like racist shit on TV and nothing will happen to you. Whereas in America, you can't do that. The thing is, because Europe has such a better welfare state than America, like the effects of the racism on the low end are not as bad as in America. Mm-hmm. If you're choosing to be a random black person in France or a random black person in the United States, like you're choosing France every time, even though your upward mobility is more limited by racism in France, but your downward mobility is more limited by the welfare state. Whereas in America, you can become the president but you're probably also going to get murdered by the cops or thrown in jail, or or just live in abject poverty, which just won't happen in France.
Yeah,
I mean, you live in poverty, but not the same level of like just total abject underclass that you have in the United States.
It's so funny to me, just the idea of like someone paying for a Charlie Hebdo magazine, like some French guy on his way to work, being like, and like reading it, being like, this is so funny. The Muslims take all the welfare money.
Yeah, no, they do. Like, I mean, I was like talking to one of my cousins was dating this French girl. Like, I remember a couple years ago, and she was like very earnestly telling us, no, it's very serious. The government, they give more money to the illegal immigrants than they do to French people. And I'm like, there's just like no way that's true. Like I don't.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Have, like,
obviously not true.
Data in front of me. It's like ridiculously. It's obviously not true. Yeah,
it's a widely believed thing. I mean, I remember getting into like this huge argument with a friend of a friend, like I don't know, not that long after the Charlie Hebdo stuff about like whether like French society was incredibly racist towards Muslim immigrants, and like and I remember like there were people in this argument who are like Americans who'd be like, no, because I've talked to a bunch of like white French people, and they all tell me that like racism there isn't very bad, so like I'm sure it's fine. It's like, man, but, okay.
Do you guys know that writer Welbeck, Michel Welbeck? Did you read his latest book? It's called Submission.
I actually did read that. Yeah,
it's really funny. I mean, it's such a provocation, but it's basically that like the Muslim Brotherhood wins an election in France and takes power, and then like enforces Sharia law in France, and like what the Welbeck, like the main character is basically Welbeck himself, and he just kind of like welcomes it because like you get assigned a government wife, like you don't have to like
to join Tinder or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have to like worry about like your bourgeois fucking stupid hang-ups, and you just kind of accept like this theocracy.
Yeah, I think part of the joke of that novel is that even though it is a Muslim theocracy, it's this like super laid back French version of it. Like all of the like all of the French Muslims running the theocracy still seem to like drink wine and read Nietzsche and shit like that.
Like it actually does seem kind of nice.
Exactly. So, it's a good book. I mean, it's a good book. I mean, obviously, obviously that premise is like him having fun rattling people's chains, but so
it's like a clever kind of like the if you just read the provocation, you're like, this guy is just a fucking like this, like Tucker Carlson wrote a book or something,
Right,
but he's like, no, this is good. This would be good.
Yeah, it's like Tucker. It's like somebody who's like a pretty smart person and a good novelist, but who's having fun writing a book that he knows will piss people off because it's got this Tucker Carlson-ish premise, but also he's too smart to just write it as the straight Tucker Carlson novel. So like it's like super ambiguous what he's actually saying.
Right. Yeah. No, it's worth reading, and it's super short. I always tell people to read it because it's like super short, and you're not like asking for a huge investment, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we go off the topic of all of the intra-European white people racism in this episode, comes later in the episode, but there is a great scene where Junior is visiting Olivia at the retirement community, and the comedian there, who I think is a comedian that in other episodes you actually see performing at the Bing, and he's kind of doing like the same shit that he would do there at the retirement community. And it's and of course, I mean, a big part of the joke is that he's like the worst, cringiest, like 1950s Catskills kind of comedian ever. Yeah. But he does but yes, he has a joke about Polish people that he tells during that scene.
Yeah, it's like the most offensive joke. I don't know if I can think of a more offensive joke. He's like, yeah, it's movie night. They did the Polish version of Rashomon. It turns out they all saw the rape the same exact way. Like, I was saying, like you, I don't know if you could get away with saying that joke today, even in the context of
In the show.
being like a bad joke in the show. Like, I don't know if you could even get away with.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it is just true. I mean, at the risk of like sounding like, you know, the
what's true? Did Polish people do that?
Oh yeah. But they're like that. They're like that. The Poles. No. That like part of the way that the culture has changed is that there's a lot less, like, I mean, literally, I feel like since the early seasons of The Sopranos, between that and now, like, there's a lot less tolerance for like just understanding that a bad person can say a bad thing in the context of a fictional show, and that doesn't like reflect the views.
Yeah. Or a bad person can commit a rape on a show, or like a murder,
right. And that's not the show endorsing rape, right? You know, which sounds like a caricature. I mean, it sounds like again, I know it's a super old man shakes his fist at the sky thing to say, but I mean, I think it's kind of true. But at the wedding, they decide they can't leave town, even though the indictments are coming, but they do have to do some spring cleaning. So there are all these great scenes where the gangsters like pull away their wives so they could like take all the jewelry, all the stolen jewelry they've given them, and, you know, and hide it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Carmela's complicit, you know, like how she's complicit with the whole thing, you know, where he's like, yep, okay, well, we gotta get the Uzis from the fucking air vent above. She's like, okay, just hand them over, you know, like, I never thought this day would come, but I guess, you know, we're here, you know. Like, there's like just like fucking pump action shotguns and just wads of cash. It's great.
Yeah, and she might have never thought this day would come, but like she also seems to be a pro. Like she knows exactly what to do.
Yeah, how to trick her mother-in-law to leave the nursing home to hide the Uzis in her closet.
That was good. But that's great. That's a great moment in the scene because it's like Tony and Carmela working together, and Carmela, you know, like you know, going to bat for Tony.
Imagine a different world in which their romance would be rekindled if Carmela just kind of like became one of these. I don't want to say like mob wife in the sense that she's like, you know, a dutiful wife, but like actually like involved in the shit. You know, like the way sometimes, I mean, it was rare, but like that woman in Cocaine Cowboys who became like the godmother or whatever. It happened every once in a while.
Zelda Blanca.
Griselda Blanco, yeah.
It's interesting to see the original casting of Pussy's wife because they changed the casting, and there's just a lady for a second in there who's helping them burn paperwork.
Also, Vito is a different guy in this episode.
Yeah.
I did not remember that.
But you could suspend your disbelief and just think that there's two guys in that town that look like that.
That's just like super fat Italian guys going to get a cannoli.
Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah.
Man, my kid's gonna be a real loudmouth. I apologize. I'm trying to mute.
Oh, he's Italian.
Yeah. He's gonna be a loudmouth like his mother. Sorry. Buddy.
Oh, and of course the best, and like it's such a goofy joke, but like the best like little detail for the end of that scene is Tony's, after they load up all the cash and the guns, Tony asks, you know, tell Carmela, you know, take off her jewelry. And then he's like clearly waiting for her to take off her engagement ring. And she's like, you didn't steal this, did you? He's like, no.
Yeah, he's like, no, of course not. What do you think I am?
So there's spring cleaning going on, and this just makes Christopher feel worse because Christopher is bummed out this whole episode that he is such a nothing within the hierarchy of the mafia, that he's having trouble writing his shitty screenplay, and he's being sent out to pick up pastries. and this is his role, and like he wants to like try to pump himself up by like acting like he has to be worried about the indictments, and everybody just makes fun of him for it. It's like, no, clearly you don't matter enough, for anybody to indict you.
Yeah, he like doesn't have any evidence to destroy. Like Adriana's like, shouldn't you be like destroying the evidence? He's like, he's like does like the heat thing, like I travel light, like nothing, like nothing can hold me down. It's not important enough to have wads of cash hidden in his air vents or any sort of records or anything like that.
Yeah. So this over the and then when Tony actually does call him to to tell him to pick up pastries, there's this little Goodfellas reversal where he goes to the pastry shop. There's Vito's doppelgangers there, picking up pastries, but it's just some random civilian. And Christopher gets fed up by how long he's had to wait, and how somebody was allowed to leave and come back and keep their place in line. And so he takes out a gun to just do like an armed robbery, but like he doesn't take any money, like just to.
Doesn't he call the guy Poppin' Fresh too?
Yeah.
That's right. He does. Yeah. And
there's some really good lines in that scene.
That must have been cathartic for Michael Imperioli to shoot that scene. That must have been
right.
Yeah, because
Spider in Goodfellas.
Exactly, but like his character in Goodfellas gets shot in the foot by
Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Pesci, and so he ends up shooting the guy working the counter at the bakery in the foot, and it's the stupidest thing ever. It's just an armed robbery just to like get the pastries that he was going to pay for anyway. There's no he just got fed up, and like he hated the fact that it's like, okay, all of the gangsters at work are going to disrespect me all the time, but like I'm not going to take it from this guy. So he does the armed robbery for cannolis.
This is kind of the funny thing about the show, is that there never seem to be any consequences. Like random people get hurt or killed, and it never comes up again. Like with Breaking Bad, everything would always lead into something, and there would always be consequences for any death or anything that happened. But this is just like, oh yeah, and that's it. Nothing. There are no security cameras or any kind of.
I think I mean, I don't know if this is like actually true or not, but like I think the implication is that the mafia, like local police, like little small shit, like they're not gonna do anything because they don't have the muscle to be able to like arrest them or keep them, like or charge them. Like they just hire some fucking lawyer and they'll like that they need the feds to deal with them, like they're too powerful. That's why there's like the regular cops are looking for some fucking kid in a Lexus who shot a bakery shop for no reason, and they're like not even worried about it. Like it's like they're a little worried about it, but not that worried about it.
Also, of course, the other half of what we were talking about with all of the random racism towards groups of Eastern European white people is that there's a lot of defensiveness about Italian Americans from both Tony and Carmela, and also like there's the parallel version going on with Dr. Melfi's family, because this is the episode where at a family get together with her ex-husband and their son, and and her parents. I'm not quite clear. She lets slip that she is treating a gangster, and it turns out that that her ex-husband is this like Italian American anti-defamation guy who's furious that she's treating Tony because you should have nothing to do with gangsters because gangsters are really bad, not primarily because they kill people or anything like that, but because they give a bad name to the Italian community.
Yeah.
Well, the Italian Anti-Defamation League is so funny because they did that when like Sopranos came out, but then they also did it when Jersey Shore came out, like the reality show, the documentary, where they're like, they're making us look stupid. you know.
Yeah, I also love like that line in the show where like the guy he's like and this is why we'll never have an Italian president. And I was thinking like, maybe if you keep on taking down our boy Andrew Cuomo for some bullshit,
Don't get me started. I'm very bummed out about that.
That's why we never have an Italian president. How are you handling that news? Your boy Cuomo,
I'll be okay. No.
Yeah.
No, it's fun. It's fun being Italian and getting to turn on other Italians when they mess up, being angry with them, and he is kind of
ciao Bella. That's what I do. That's how we did it back in the old country. Like I was like half expecting you to say something like that.
It is shocking hearing him talk for the first time because he seems like such an imposing person, but then he talks like an old woman kind of.
Yeah, he talks like a New York like fucking gossip queen or something.
Yeah.
He's like back in the old country in Rome, if you walk down the street and you're an attractive woman, you get your ass pinched, and that's just how we do it.
It's customary for people to bark at you like a dog.
Yeah. We say "Mamma mia, che cosa más bella." That's what we do. We do that all the time in the old country.
So maybe you guys know more than I do about how the state constitution is set up in New York with the line of succession. I assume that Chris Cuomo is governor now.
Yeah,
I freaking hope so.
Yeah,
it's like finally
he's gonna do that while hosting a CNN show. He's just gonna be like,
So both families are very concerned about anti-Italian racism.
Can I just say one thing about Cuomo though, because it does feel like he doesn't have any. It does feel like when you read about what he did, it doesn't feel like he has any like game or any skill.
No.
He's just like the governor, and his dad was the governor, so he gets to make women sit on his lap, which is like so repulsive.
Yeah, he's just like he's just like, let me give you a hug. It's like, what?
I want to kiss you. Give me a kissy. Yeah. There's no charm or any kind of like.
Yeah, it's not. Like, yeah. Poor Cuomo.
Yeah.
Pour one out for all the guys who don't have any game out there.
He's a dork.
Yeah, he's a dork. I mean, he's the governor. Like think about the kind of kid in your class that ran for class president.
Right.
Usually a dork.
I mean, which is particularly pathetic because, if he had any whatsoever, like there was a point last year.
Oh, yeah. Any woman in America, he could have had. At the height of at the press conferences when he won a freaking Emmy, they created a special category to give him a fucking Emmy.
An Emmy.
Like there is nothing that is like more stupid liberal Hollywood than that. Like when I was seeing that happen, I was like, oh, you people are so stupid. Like you're so stupid. Like you're gonna create a whole fucking category just to give this obvious fucking monster an Emmy for stupid little press conferences. Where it's like the COVID, it's going up, and we're taking it very seriously. And if the president wants to come here and do his COVID policy, he's gonna get his ass kicked by us New Yorkers, because we don't. And it's like, yes, I love this. This is the best TV I've ever seen in my entire life.
I go on Etsy, and because there's still people that have Etsy stores that are selling like Cuomo sexual T-shirts.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's very funny.
We all need to buy our own and just go out in those and not address it. Like, no, I just think he's cool.
Yeah. Team Cuomo.
I don't know why you guys are looking at me.
But then I did see another shirt on Etsy, and it just said Cuomo killed my grandma, and it had like a silhouette of a dead lady. So it's like, I guess both sides are very funny.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just love also that Melfi's kid in that scene, is like a fucking loser that goes to Bard, he's like definitely like just like some.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Melfi's kid.
Yeah. Melfi's kid is he's going to Bard. His big news is that he's switching to a non-smoking dorm. Like that's the issue they're going to talk about in family therapy.
Yeah.
Hold on, we lost Nando. Let's see if we can. All right. Well, while we wait for Nando to sort out his connectivity issues, I like that he's frozen on laughing at Melfi's kid as this loser goes to Bard.
Yeah.
The family therapy is great too because you see. Nando says his Wi-Fi went down. You also, you also get like their therapist, whose name I do not remember.
But isn't it somebody? It's somebody. I think it's like Peter Bogdanovich or something that plays Melfi's therapist. I don't know if it's in this episode, if they recast him or not. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Here we go.
Yeah.
Melfi's therapist, just like going along.
This is their family therapist, right? Because like Melfi's therapist is Peter Bogdanovich.
Oh, okay. So it's somebody else.
Their family group therapy.
That's what I figured.
Okay, all right. So the family therapist, when they start talking about the Melfi seeing a gangster issue. Gets way too excited about talking about some distant relative of his who was a driver for like a 1930s Jewish gangster.
Yeah, it's great. He's like, those are some tough guys, the Jews. It's like funny because like the Jews, like the joke being that the Jews want to appear more gangstery and tough, whereas the Italians are like running away from that image. But like, no, we got our hands dirty. Let me tell you something, Back in the day, those were some tough Jews.
Yeah, exactly. At the there's also a thing running through all of this where Tony is worried that he's going to get arrested, and so he kind of warns Melfi that he might have to go on vacation unexpectedly, and that she'll be contacted later. So he might miss an appointment. He actually does end up missing an appointment in the excitement as the FBI is ransacking his house and all that stuff. And then he gets incredibly angry at Melfi because she charges him for the session that he missed.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you can't miss the session, even if you're getting raided by the FBI. And that's a great thing. Like he gets like offended when the FBI guy, because the FBI guy's Italian, he's like, "How can you do this to me?"
Yes.
Oh,
like as if you wouldn't like murder some fucking Italian guy who who fucking crossed him, or a cop or anyone. He's like, your spagul or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. He says something apparently, super offensive in Italian to.
Right. And he said he would have been behind a desk if his name didn't end in a vowel or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this leads to their version of the Italian American Pride dinner conversation. The Melfi family version was like they're proud that like most of them are just like normal people who aren't in the mafia, and in the Soprano family version, it's all about how Alexander Graham Bell stole the telephone from an Italian guy, and they have all of these accomplishments, and did you know more Italian Americans served this country during World War II than any other ethnicity?
Yeah, it's like they got like the they get handed the fact sheet every year of like of these like little slights that they have to hold on to forever. You know, the fact that Antonio Meucci was not recognized for inventing the first telephone.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I mean, whatever. It's a pretty basic point, but I mean, I always think of the like Doug Stanhope riff about like nationalism making people proud of shit they had nothing to do with. You know, it's like oh, you remember when we liberated the French? It's like, wait,
yeah,
we did that? I don't remember liberating the French.
Yeah. Spaniards are very proud of the fact that they were the ones who defeated Napoleon first, right? That you know, that Napoleon invaded Spain and it became his Spanish ulcer. And the Spaniards invented guerrilla warfare in the war against Napoleon. And I'm like, it would have been amazing for Spain had Napoleon just won and like instituted his version of the Republic and all this stuff. And we went to like this fucking retrograde monarchy. But they're like, we kicked his ass. I don't give a fuck. We kicked his ass. Those French assholes.
Maybe stealing the telephone was payback for Italians stealing noodles from China.
Yeah,
you know, it was like a long plot.
As if anyone who eats their food with sticks would invent spaghetti. That's a great line.
Yeah.
There's a little premonition of bad things to come because Livia rats out Tony to Junior as seeing a psychiatrist, which, you know, like presumably like Livia knows how he's going to take that. I mean, that's the point. That's why she's telling him that.
Yeah. It's the inciting incident that leads to the attempt on Tony's life, you know.
And then finally, at the end of the episode, there's a happy ending. This was just perfect, because Christopher has been in this horrible funk the entire episode. He's like letting his apartment go to shit. Adriana is spending time with her mother. Paulie comes by at one point. He's got a couple of broads in the car, but Christopher can't even get excited about that because he's so despondent about how he's just this nothing. That he doesn't have an arc in his life, and he's super jealous.
You know who had an arc? No
one.
See, the jokes that are supposed to be between them, I always get a great kick out of it. That joke is so stupid.
Yeah.
They're like,
and he's sitting there like, I'm hilarious.
Yeah, he loves it. Pussy's like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's to the point, Christopher is, jealous of his dead friend, Brendan Falone, because, everybody's saying, Brendan's name, that he was referred to on TV as a Soprano family associate and a soldier.
Yeah.
And nobody's bringing him up, that he's not important enough to have to worry about indictments. But happy ending. At the end, Christopher is brought out of his funk because his mother calls to say that she read his name in the newspaper, that the New Jersey. As a former resident of New Jersey, I'll everything about this. The New Jersey Star Ledger, had mentioned his name along with 10 other gangsters, and he was so excited that he steals the whole stack of newspaper from the box.
So good. Yeah, so Chris, he loves movies. He wants his life to be like the movies. He has a great line where he says he gets a fucking hard on every time he walks into Blockbuster and smells the smell of candy and carpet. That shit turns me on. Do you
remember recently when Daily Beast wrote that article about the connection between podcasts and the far right, comedy and podcasts and the far right?
Daily Beast is like a parody of itself at this point. It's this show is contributing to, I don't know, you know, we did January 6th or something, that would be a Daily Beast article. This exact episode, you know.
Right. But I remember feeling that because they mentioned my podcast, but not my name. They just mentioned that Nick Mullen was on the Sit Down podcast.
Oh, motherfuckers!
And yeah, I didn't get mentioned. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. The day that
you didn't make it onto the Daily Beast.
That the Daily Beast does a hit piece on the Dirtbag Left, and they say Mike Recine like as like name number 6 out of 9 are mentioned. He's gonna print out copies.
Send it to my family. Yeah.
They're like Mike Recine, whose white supremacist podcast, The Sit Down, talks about American crimes, but conveniently ignores Black Wall Street. Like that's like a Daily Beast. Like that's evidence to them that your podcast is white supremacist.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So final thoughts. Legend of Tennessee Moltisanti.
Oh, so how does the episode end?
What it literally
Chris
ends.
stealing the newspaper.
Him stealing the newspaper, right?
Yeah. No, there's so many great moments. I mean, there's like the great conversation between Chris and Tony, where Tony's like using the things he's learned in therapy to like spot that Chris is like actually just fully depressed. He's like, you know, you could use some of that, you know, maybe you have like a serotonin problem. And he's like, I don't know, I fucking heard it in the news yesterday. I don't even know what it means, but like, you know, he's like using his the things he learns in therapy to try to help Chris. It's like kind of sweet, but he can't just like he can't do it because
and he's even like clearly trying to do what Dr. Milfy does with him in their sessions, where he's you know because
asking him questions.
Yeah, Christopher says, you know, maybe I got cancer or something. You know, I feel like there's something physically wrong with me, and Tony like does this Melfi thing where he's like, this word cancer, how often does it come into your head? A lot or a little?
Yeah, it's great. This was a great episode. You know, it sets up it starts it's the inciting incident for the climax of season 1, but it's also just the central theme of the whole show, which is like Tony is like a bad dude, and it's just like clever. Like David Chase puts it in the mouth of Dr. Melfi's like shithead, annoying ex-husband, but he's like, listen, you know, this is a bad dude, you know, like, you know, and he's 100% right. Like, he's not good. You know, I know that like, because you're around him and you like him, you try to like rationalize it, but like, there's no rationalizing it, but because he's the fucking annoying guy, and we don't like him, we're like, whatever, you know, shut the fuck up when you don't.
Yeah. It's funny to think about that stuff because like, it's clearly, I sometimes find myself thinking about how the show works when it's about such unlikable people and how it's still enjoyable. Because I watched a movie recently that was really, really bad. It was a movie about like white people in Brooklyn in 2014, and it just made me feel so like gross inside. And I think they were trying to do a thing.
Podcasters?
I wish it was. It would have been a better movie. But it hit every trope of like, you know, like shitty white people in Brooklyn. They were trying to drive home the point that these were like bad people, I think, but it just wasn't. I don't know. The end of the movie just made me feel gross, and I think about how that works and why it is that works. I think about that a lot, and I guess I don't know. Maybe it's
humor.
Yeah,
it's humor is because they like, even though, like, I mean, that's what is. I mean, what's so annoying about like millennials and like the millennial content that's come out of it, like, is that the comedy takes itself so fucking seriously. Like, it's all it all thinks it's doing, you know, politics, for lack of a better term, like that. It's like, you know, righting some wrong in society or whatever.
Right.
And Sopranos like doesn't try to do that. Like, it just doesn't see itself that way. It doesn't, in a weird way, it doesn't take itself that seriously. So because it's so funny and because it's exploring kind of deeper themes, but also not being preachy about anything, then you can kind of lose yourself in it. You can bathe in it. But like content now, like TV content or whatever, like often has to make a statement about something, about whatever the fuck, you know, and like, you know, like Sopranos was very in the zeitgeist, but it wasn't doing the kind of, I don't know, like cheap, just kind of claptracky thing that is so popular now.
Yeah, and I guess audiences really don't want to be preached to or beat over the head with any kind of like moral lesson or something. It's just
no, they want ambiguity. Like, I mean, the Sopranos
ambiguity
works on a level of ambiguity,
Mhm.
and it also, like, frankly, like it as much as it doesn't it portrays these people as bad people, but it also doesn't stop portraying kind of bourgeois liberals as like hypocritical people who are full of shit, like all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the episode where Jon Favreau comes in to make the movie, like they're that's just like annoying Hollywood liberals and like how full of shit they are. Like whenever they deal with like Melfi's private life, in which she like acts and speaks differently than when she's in the room with Tony. She's always around these people who part of her frustration is that because of her exposure to Tony, she sees that the people in her milieu are all full of shit too. That's just the defining thing about being American right now, is that you're just full of shit. Everyone's just full of shit.
Everyone's full of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Sopranos is nothing but like it's always playing with that kind of ambiguity that like that you like you see Tony and also the other gangsters, but especially Tony, you have complex inner lives. You feel bad for him, they're you're enjoying things that he's doing, but like it also like constantly finds ways to twist the knife and like stop you from getting comfortable with it and remind you, no, this is an extremely evil dude. He does horrible sociopathic violent things all the time, and it doesn't and I mean that's what makes it interesting. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, Nando, I mean, I feel like it's really, I don't know. I mean, like the thing that makes it really especially hard to take a lot of that content is that it's not just that it's like preaching, which is like always just like a bad way to do art. I mean, like that, like it's just not, that's just not a way you're going to get good TV shows or novels or movies or anything, if there's like an unambiguous message that, you clearly want the audience to get out of it. But also like that the message is always like, it's always acted as if it's like taking some brave stand, but like really the stuff that it's opposing is stuff that like the rest of the culture is opposed to too. I mean, it's like there's no, it's like like
it's not in any way controversial, like in any way.
Yeah.
Did I lose you guys again?
Maybe.
Shit.
It would be funny if the episode where Meadow brings her boyfriend home at the end, Tony's or Gandolfini's like, we had a lot of fun tonight, but I'm here to talk about something not fun. Racism. Your daughter can date whoever she wants.
Right. And then they do like something like, then like they have some super cheesy mob joke at the end of it, except for I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Let's whack racism.
Exactly. All right. Anyway, so I guess
did we lose him?
Yeah, we lost him. Let's see if he comes back in a minute, but let's see. Constance Arens asked in the chat, was the Godfather the beginning of the mafia gangster type figure as American icon? I don't know. I mean, like there's certainly stuff before then.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with gangster movies before Godfather, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I don't know. Did you see any of those James Cagney movies or anything?
No,
I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
I kind of like vaguely know that stuff exists.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe The Godfather was kind of the beginning of like the sort of like maybe the first one that was good enough that like it had that kind of iconic like cultural status. Like I know I've read there were like people. They were like people who actually were in the mafia, who like started like dressing and talking differently to like imitate the characters in The Godfather, after the movie came out. So yeah, I don't know. That sounds. I guess that sounds plausible. That could be it. And yeah, I mean, I guess. All right. Well, Nando can stop stalling. Nando says he can't get it. He can't get it to work. It's gonna be really sad if he just doesn't have working internet anymore, because like every single thing that he does in his life is online. That's I'm just sort of imagining Nando having to completely change his line of work because he can't get reliable Wi-Fi to do podcasts anymore.
That sounds like paradise. just permanent internet damage, and you have to just go live in the woods or something. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I
would love it. Yeah.
All
just
right.
being like a cripple, but for the internet. You just have to find some. You can just go on disability because your internet doesn't work.
Nice. Well, anything you want to plug before we go?
Yeah, you can check out my Instagram, Recine.Mike. I'm at Mike Recine on Twitter, and I don't know, I'm making these TikToks. I'm on TikTok at Mike Recine. And they're kind of fun and whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to build up my socials and what have you. So you can follow me on all social media at Mike Recine and Recine Mike on Instagram.
All right. Sounds good. See you next month.
All right. See you, Ben.